Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here yet again here on Mount Schmoedown. We had some information, some craziness happen yesterday. So this might be a nice little palate cleanser for some people to just kind of sit back, relax, and talk about one of the most brightful, entertaining competitors we've ever had it in the Schmoedown. And that is Mr. Matt Atchity, who unfortunately decided he just was not going to be in the league this year. So we definitely thought, well, we don't have to worry about covering any new matches for him in season 8. We might as well go ahead and tackle Matt Atchity there.
Big Kahuna himself.
I got to give a shout out to our graphics guy, JJ. I freaking love this thumbnail. It's so hilarious.
I do like it. You see in the background not just the screenshots of him, but just look at. I mean, he's got the Santa hat. You see him dressed as Marty from Back to the Future, and of course that little him in the corner with that pineapple and the lei and the Hawaiian shirt. God, if that doesn't tell you of someone who is here just to play for fun, I don't know what tells you, because I do rewatching his matches. I do enjoy his personality and the fact he's a nice breath of fresh air to always a reminder when you play in the Schmoedown, you're playing for fun. Sure, there's competition, but you can always still enjoy just being there, hanging with your friends and playing movie trivia. I mean, that's one of the Matt Atchity's definitely one of the few competitors that keeps reminding me why I love to watch the Schmoedown.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think we just need to start talking about the moment Matt Atchity is most well known for. He challenges himself out of a win in the 2019 Ultimate Schmoedown tournament. I still like. I'm actually gonna pull it up here so we can kind of play it back. But it is one of the most interesting strategy moves that I've ever seen in a match.
In all honesty, I mean, I understand this. Look, whoever in the chat or watching a replay, this was something that we could not avoid, obviously. And I figured, it's much better. We rip the Band-Aid off right now. So
yeah, I'm like, it's just what he's known for. Like, you cannot dispute that whatsoever.
And the Paddington team is the family, right?
Yes, correct. Yes, I do have it up here. So we're just going to start with the first question they read.
War movies.
First one.
Can confer. You have one JT left. The question is, for 5 points in the game, who played the sole survivor of the Dirty Dozen in The Dirty Dozen?
No. First off, that is a very good question, and it's a worthy 5-pointer, because it's once again, it's something you need to watch the movie in order to understand that question.
5, 4, cool. 3, 2.
Repeat the question.
Who played the sole survivor? Who played the sole?
And look at this score too, 31-27. Like, this is a high point scored match.
I think that was a smart move to buy yourself some time, catch your breath.
Like they've got this. Maybe.
We're gonna go with Lee Marvin.
And your winner.
Actually, not your winner.
The Paddington.
Look at that match is
like
he was about to raise it.
Like he was about to say, and then he's like, okay, no, we won.
Bronson was the final answer.
Look at that. He was enjoying the win.
And with that,
Paddington
2 wins the game, 31.
Like, he's really wrestling with this decision. Like,
he is. He's like, should I say it or not?
Like, he even said post interview, he could have wrestled with the result and take the win. But he does say, and he's gonna say later on, and he's gonna say after this, when he's gonna make the challenge, he respects Drew McWeeny as a player, and he doesn't want to win that way.
Okay, hold up.
What's that?
Does survive. There are multiple survivors at the end of the Dirty Dozen. I can't in good conscience win that way. Not against Drew.
All right, we are going to confer.
Okay.
Even for the community, this is that applause he gets from the audience, though. Like, and this is Matt. He said, and this is something from his knowledge. He has seen the movie. I guess mostly it just came in the context of the question itself, honestly, because Lee Marvin, I believe his character is a general who recruits the Dirty Dozen. but
by their opponent.
the context of the
Atchity,
question,
who
unfortunately.
was not satisfied with the manner in which that question was written, and upon further research, it's a questionable question. So we are going to throw
Our
that
lovely
question out
Leo
and instead
Logan is in the
ask
chat.
panel
Leo,
another
very much for
Yeah,
five-point
Exactly. Yeah, Charles Bronson. He's amongst the
match
soldiers
go on
that
to
make up the
face
Dirty Dozen. But
Koch
yeah,
in the Ultimate Schmoedown Teams tournament.
I never do this, but I gotta say, that is the greatest example of sportsmanship I've ever
He's
seen.
not wrong, and I'm pretty sure it still is. There's no other moment where
I
someone
still want you to lose, but I applaud you.
All right.
Turns out,
okay. I love that exchange between Guy and Roca for a second. It's just-
All right. Decorum.
but then they get the next question, which is possibly another. It was this platform was definitely not a plot beat. It was more of a actor question.
In the semifinals, you guys have category number 14, which is war movies, and your 5-point question. In what war film will you find the phrase "born to kill" written?
and just look at each other, and he's like, "Go ahead."
Metal Jacket. Yeah.
And then look at McQueen's plane.
And
Look at the poster too.
Yeah, like they get one where they're not sure, and then they get one like this. We're like, "Oh yeah, it's this." Like,
It's once again, context is key, and that 5-pointer with the Dirty Dozen. And Emma said it's a questionable question. And from what Leo had brought up in the comments, there were two other people two other actors who were part of the Dirty Dozen like troupe, but weren't really members of the Dirty Dozen. So it's when it comes with these 5-pointers, context has to be key, unfortunately. And this is nothing against the people, but this is one of those it was one of those situations where Matt Atchity's knowledge of the movie and his movie knowledge, and also someone who is a critic and who writes critiques of movies, like he's done for Rotten Tomatoes and has done review for movies, to where he even says later in the interview, honor. And it has also to do with his respect of Drew McWeeny as a player, and all at the same time, we've seen too many times in the Schmoedown where questionable questions or questions that don't give enough context or are very vague in the question itself have led to so many losses and wins. They don't get overridden like what we just saw with Matt Atchity, but we do see them they do come up in, like, air quotes, controversy fashion amongst the Schmoedown community, and even sometimes the players, where they'll bust Christian, Mark, and even the writers' balls about it later on down the road. And I want to look at the positive side of this. Yes, it cost Matt a match, and Jen Sturgis says it best in the interview. You did it to yourself. You did this to yourself.
really did.
But
really did.
I still will applaud Matt from having the balls to actually make that choice. He had the balls to make it. Like most of the competitors, they could have kept their mouth shut and take the win and move forward. This could have been the end of the family's road, and we would have seen the Paddington 2 versus Shazam in the finals.
No. So if the Paddington 2
lost,
they would have played Who's the Boss.
Sorry, I had it marked down in my notes, a what if match between the Paddington 2 and Shazam.
Who do you guys think would have won that match? The Paddington
Nothing against Matt, but that is a who's. I think between Atchity and Duralde, Riley and Bateman, I think, are stronger. So I think Who's the Boss.
Yeah. But we have to look at the match itself and see how Riley and Bateman performed in that match. I would give a slight edge to Paddington 2, but at the same time, but then just look at that match that Paddington 2 played against the family. The family was only ahead by 2 points after the first round. Matt and Duraldo missed Matt missed a lot of questions. Alonzo had 6 points until they got to horror, thriller, and anime, where he missed those two. But then when you saw the Paddington 2, when they got Kurt Russell in the second round, they got all the questions, only getting 11 points at the end. And then they get all their 3 point. Then they get all three of their questions in round 5. Now, to see if they played this way against Who's the Boss, I would give them a slight edge. But then, it depends on how Riley and Bateman. That's only judging Riley and Bateman's performance in that match with Who's the Boss and the family that I'm only looking at from the outside. I can't tell exactly how they actually played if it was against Duraldo and Atchity.
Yeah. Matt Atchity really, as a teams player, I think is very underrated and underappreciated because we've said this. I've lost count. A record does not dictate what kind of a competitor is. He's 7-8 in terms of his record in teams, but I definitely feel like he's on the mainly because of he's been in the league since season 2.
Yeah.
That just he has the knowledge. He just makes some very questionable gameplay and strategy moves. Like I should have took an account how many times he asked for multiple choice in round 3. Like that is also a very funny running gag.
And even in round 2, when he gets steal opportunities, like when they miss a 2-pointer, it goes to them for steals in round 2, and he goes, "Can we get multiple choice?" No, it's not available to you.
Yeah.
But I think to me,
Like, I don't know if he rules or.
Oh yeah.
I just don't know if he doesn't know the rules, or he forgets, or it's just a funny running gag.
Do you think he? I don't want to say he doesn't care about the rules, but I think he just there to have fun. And you don't think he's studies, do you?
I was of the latter opinion that he's there for the fun of the game, because if you look at his team with Great Drake, Rotten Tomatoes, every match they have played outside their match against What the Flick, they have always dressed up, cosplaying, or just for fun. They were there for the fun of the game. Even in the Ultimate Schmoedown Season 2, when they played against Makuga, they came out in Hawaiian shirts. When they played against ETC, they dressed as King Kong and the Blonde. And then against the Schmoes, oh no, that was against the Schmoes. But when they played against Machinima at the time, they also did dress up. Like almost every match they have played together that Gray and Matt have done, they're always dressed up. So it shows to me that, yeah, he's there for the fun of it. So, and I would also fall to the fact sometimes he'll forget the rules or the stress of the match will come to it, because so many times I've seen he knows the question, he knows the answer to the question, and he'll forget to use a JTE, or sometimes in a match he'll use 2 JTEs because he is a very knowledgeable guy, and he is. I'm and no disrespect to Great, but he's really the heavy of that team. If you've seen in the matches, he has gotten so many points in their later matches when it got to the 8-point questions, because Gray, even though she's a great competitor, and I love when she's able to make great pulls, but Matt is mainly there. He is the tank of that team.
So let me ask you this. If he put in all the extra time a player has to put in now, could he be a top tier player?
Now, no.
Yeah, no?
Because Matt, he's
singles and teams division right now is so incredibly deep and tough and competitive that unless you have to literally be studying nonstop or come up with some of the best gameplay and strategy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he would fully go 100% into that. He just, like Ryan said, he's probably more in for the fun aspect of the Schmoedown. I think that might be a reason why he decided to not play in season 8.
Yeah, and let's not forget with Matt though. Like earlier during that time when the Schmoedown was starting, he was like one of the people in charge of Rotten Tomatoes. He would do a lot of constant reviews with other movie review critics, like with him and Duralde when they were the Paddington 2. They'd work together through What the Flick and with TYT. And Matt is at the time. Matt was always in charge of like running a lot of platforms. So even then, when he didn't have the time, the fact throughout his most constant busy schedule, he was able to devote some of that time to the Schmoedown was amazing. And now I think he's in charge of Movie Phone. So just seeing the fact with Matt, because the fact he couldn't commit to for this season as well. If there was a situation to where Matt, kind of like what Riley, Roxy, Bateman, and so many other and Roka are doing with just doing only YouTube shows and doing their own Patreon setups, I'm pretty sure that would definitely help Matt when it came with Schmoedown studying, really diverting more time for the Schmoedown.
Yeah, definitely. So, Matt Atchity, in terms of teams, has been in 3 number 1 contender matches.
Yeah.
He's 1-2, lost the top 10, beat Nerds Watch, lost to Above the Line, has been in one championship match and lost in sudden death because of JTE on a
JTE. Yeah,
a
man.
very easy question, by the way. Very, very easy question, by the way. This was actually near the end of the Patriots run, I believe. Hold on, let me.
It was in the middle of the run before the team's tournament began. That brought in.
So they had after they beat them, which they at this time they were Modoc. The Patriots had 2 more title defense wins.
Yeah, they beat Trek, they beat Wolves of Steel, and then Modoc was their third defense. And then they played top 10 again. So they had
correct. So after they beat Modoc, they played they beat Above the Line at 2017 Spectacular. They then played top 10.
The third time.
Yes, and then their next match after that was the Above the Line 2, and that's when Above the Line won.
Yeah.
And I think at that point, I don't know if they disbanded, but they didn't have any matches after that.
Well, their last match was against Critically Acclaimed, and then came the Anarchy. Then came Anarchy, and that's
so the Patriots' last match was at 2018 Collision. That was
they did break up. They did break up. That's for sure. Sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and so that was again right before Anarchy. So then Snyder got with Andreyko, and JTE kind of fell off the mat a little bit after that. He had some matches there in season 6, and JTE this past week actually called out Snyder, saying that he's the best teams player of all time and he's better than Andreyko. Because JTE,
I can't really see that Civil War. You know that's going to happen.
It depends on what Snyder does against Dan, because
I'm pretty sure Snyder wants a revenge match against JTE because JTE did beat him in a singles match.
But the thing is, in terms of actual singles right now, Snyder's so much higher than what JTE needs to win, in my opinion, at least 2 to 3 singles matches to even sniff having to play him in singles and teams. Oh, who knows? So JTE taking that shot, I'm like, does it make sense? Like, say Snyder loses to Merle, if he then plays JTE, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, why would Snyder have to play someone in singles who hasn't played in? Hold on, when was the last?
JTE played in the Horror Free For All, and that was it.
That doesn't count.
I know it won't count.
His last actual singles match was against Liz Shannon Miller in June of 2019. So we're like 2.5 years. 2.5 years. So JTE has to at the least win 2 singles matches, and if Snyder loses tomorrow, maybe they go up against each other.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I would rather that storyline not start until we can do stuff in studio or at live events. I feel like a Patriots Civil War would work so much better in studio with scenes and then live events. But we'll see what happens here. There's a lot of unknowns here going into season 8. But back to the person at hand, who we are.
Matt Atchity. That match that they played against the Modoc's match against the Patriots. Yes, they went to sudden death, and it did come down to 1 point from JTE. But even then, that match really could have gone another way because the real change in that match with Modoc and the Patriots really did come in the speed round. Unfortunately, this came to one of those interesting. This unfortunately fell to 2 things. Matt, who was more into playing the character, more for the fun, and at the same time, he and Gray were never able to really prepare for the speed round to where they actually did, suffer in points. Because when I was watching that match and I'm looking at the speed round, Modoc was climbing back after the betting round in Classics when they betted 3 points over the Patriots betting 1. And looking at Modoc, the Patriots only got 1 question they were able to get in the speed round, and Modoc got 4 times. The first 2 they got correct, and then Matt in the 3rd question, unfortunately, he was unfamiliar with the speed round to where he was more like in character to where Christian's like, no, you got to answer the moment you hit the buzzer. And then the 5th question that came in, he would have gotten it, but unfortunately got in his own head, which cost him a point. And then unfortunately, it's what fell to them. And they were very lucky in that 5th round because they got all 3 of their questions: their 2-pointer in 80s, their 3-pointer in fantasy sci-fi, and their 5-pointer in biopics. Patriots only missed their 3-pointer in taglines that was able to bring to sudden death. So 2 factors could have happened. If Matt had actually gotten the 3rd and 5th question correct in the speed round, and then depending on where the points could have lied, if the Patriots still missed that 3-pointer, MODOK would have been the champions in that match.
Was it the 3rd or 5th question that Matt was like
the 3rd question. It was the 3rd question because he was sticking with the Russian accent being Boris. And the 3rd question came in and he's like, that answer would be, and before he can even say anything, the timer.
Snyder was losing. He's like, what the hell? It's been 1-2 seconds.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's what happened. The speed round, it was something that he was not used to, and it definitely got into his head. So the 5th time, he did drop that accent, but when he buzzed in, he just couldn't get that. He just couldn't get the answer. It's when he got stuck in his head.
Yeah, that was definitely probably not like he got stuck into character too much in that match.
Which is kind of funny though, because in their previous Rotten Tomatoes matches, Matt has never really been the one to be all character. It's always been great.
What was with the name change, by the way? Why'd they go from Rotten Tomatoes to MODOK?
I really wanted to. I couldn't find out why. Maybe
I was trying to find it. I'm like, what was with the name change?
Maybe Anarchy? Could that be?
No. They were still a team. Anarchy was season 5.
Okay.
They were still a team all the way to season 5.
But they ended up going.
It's unknown to me.
But they did go to sudden death, and the only person that got it right was JTE. So Patriots ended up winning that.
Snyder missed, and both Gray and Matt missed that question. But even then, it was still a good. Like, it shows when Matt is focused in, when he is dialed in. He comes out in the 3rd. He comes out in the in the final round. He does come out in the final round. That's why he really is overlooked. He really is overlooked as a player. And everybody has even said that when they face Rotten Tomatoes, they do either when they beat or lose to them, they do say Matt is a very knowledgeable guy.
I was like, it's gotta be something. So yeah, makes sense why. Yeah, if you're not employed there, that name doesn't.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense now. Okay, that makes a lot much more sense. I can understand the name change. But even though that match was still great, but rewinding back to Rotten Tomatoes' early career, after they lost to the Schmoes in the Ultimate Schmoedown, they came back in their round in the way they were playing. I mean, they didn't have the best start, unfortunately, after losing to the Schmoes, because they lose to top 10 and against Roca and Matt Nose, and that was a number 1 contenders match. If only, let's say, if Rotten Tomatoes had gotten their 3-pointer in horror, they could have beaten top 10 because they had gotten a clean sweep in 80s in the 2nd round, and top 10 was only they only got 10 points in Disney. So it was one of those situations to where it was Rotten Tomatoes' game to lose. But even then, it was still a great match. I loved rewatching because Roca, Atchity, Nost, and Gray, they were just having a lot of fun with each other. Like the back and forth between them. Like, this was before Roca really got dead serious about being the outlaw.
Well, this was still season 3, so they were still figuring things out a little bit. This was still the 3-3 there in round 1.
And the 1-pointer as well in the final round.
I just, watching those first 3 seasons, really, it's like, it's so different. Like, we don't get the current version until season 4.
That's true. Like, it happens midway, honestly. It happens midway where they change.
Yeah, I mean, it was so weird. It's like midway through season 3, they then kind of do the current format.
Yeah. Because even in season 4, they still had the 1-pointer before they finally changed it to 2 points in that final round. So watching that first half is kind of, I'm not going to say it's awkward, but it throws you off a little bit because we're now so used to this current format. So in their match against What the Flick, though, even though
I love that name, by the way. I love the name.
Yeah, What the Flick. Yeah, it was the wrong name.
That will never not be funny.
I know. That's one thing I love about Matt. He loves to jest and he loves to break people's balls on the desk. Even that match against the family and when they played against the Odd Couple, it was nothing more than just fun camaraderie going between them. That's why I loved how Drew Guy, who was so big in the character, was able to break. Like he breaks with the he breaks with the sportsmanship, but also at the same time he breaks with just joking and just joking around with them. Yeah. That's one thing I love that Matt brings to the table. The fact that he knows it's all about fun here. That's all he's doing. He's just having fun with everybody. And the fact that most people, and also if they have met him and talked to him, I mean, I personally haven't, so I don't know his personality, but seeing how almost every competitor and every backstage person, including Christian, loves to say good things about Matt Atchity, that's like one shining light of the Schmoedown, a very positive and influential person I would love that I love seeing in the Schmoedown. I'm so upset he's not going to play in this season, but if he does come back, maybe sometime in the mid-season during like free agency pickups, oh, I will be so excited. I will buy a pineapple-shaped mug or start learning how to hollow out pineapples just so I can have my own pina coladas whenever he starts to play again.
If he comes back halfway through, whose section do you see him being on?
Yeah, I forgot about that. There is the mid-year free agency, and I don't know if he stated that he's out the entire year or he just couldn't begin the year. So there's a lot of players that could happen with. To be honest, it really depends on what the faction needs are at that point.
Yeah.
And the unknown status of teams right now, it's really hard to say. Because we may not even start getting teams matches until free agency.
That is true, and that's one of the reasons why you see that post about the 5-way and 4-ways. Like we're gonna have a buttload of just single competition matches.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure each week is gonna be one Star Wars, one IG, one singles, one Star Wars, one IG. So that's why drafting all these Star Wars players makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It does. But Ben, let me ask you a quick question about Matt Atchity. If you were coming through, which team do you think he better performed with? Rotten Tomatoes, MODOK, or the Paddington 2?
Well, okay, I'm going to combine Rotten Tomatoes and MODOK because they're the same team.
Yeah, that's why I said Rotten Tomatoes / MODOK.
Yeah, okay, I misunderstood you.
I'll just say MODOK.
Yeah, I would say MODOK because they seem to know each other better. So that means they have a better back and forth chemistry to me. I think they worked well together.
Actually, Ben, that's a good point you brought up with chemistry. That's one thing most people tend to overlook much when it comes with teams. The partners need to have chemistry. And seeing with the fact that Matt has worked with both Gray and Alonzo, it made him more at ease to play with them and does work very well with the team chemistry makeup.
Chemistry is very important. Look at a team like Shazam. You have Mimiani and the kid. They have perfect chemistry.
Yeah, I think Viviani, he's another great example of chemistry as well. I mean, he and Brendan Meyer, they didn't know much. I mean, I don't know if they've ever met out before the whole Schmoedown, but yeah, it's kind of a situation to where their chemistry worked very well because long before then, he and Whitney they have constant shows together with critically acclaimed, so it made sense for them to be a team. Even with Roka and Nost, how they do shows together. Like most of the time, it does make sense when you work with somebody in movie entertainment. When you're in the Schmoedown, it makes sense to be a team with them. But even then, experience can work, like we had with Drew McWeeny and Drew Guy, or with Kylie, you know.
And it has always worked. Look at, we brought him out before. Look at JTE and Lon Harris. They played what? 2 matches together? They had no chemistry.
I think it was more of clashing of characters. Like Lon was dead set on doing a character, and JTE was just more of really, like JTE wanted to stay in his lane as his character. Lon wanted to do something different. But even in their matches, they did put up some great points. And I know we're going to get more into that when we talk about Lon or JTE, but the Evil Geniuses, that could have been one hell of a team that could have been. That could have been a team that could have been.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what JTE. I still think that was one of the. I don't know what that point of signing JTE was. Like, I get probably a lot of people shut down Gucci, but are you saying that no one else that's played lately you could have gotten, because you could have signed JTE probably in the middle rounds? I mean, drafted, yeah, in the mid.
The free agency, you mean? Yeah, the free agency pickup, because JT just last person, the one the last people.
But they obviously, Gucci has a plan. I don't know what it is. It may not be smart, but he does have a plan.
Yeah, that dossier, man. That dossier guy, he kept bringing up throughout the draft.
And then it kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You realize that?
Oh yeah, he kept saying it so differently.
So
I mean, it was just hilarious. And then of course the Barbarian post on Twitter, like, he posts like one simple page of the dossier going, "Oh, it's real." I don't care if it was real or not. Does it justify his draft picks? That's what I'm curious about. Does that dossier justify his draft pick?
I don't think it does, but I don't know.
Okay, but tying back into Atchity though, I already asked Ben this, but Brandon, which team did you think actually had the better, was able to give, which team brought the better performance out of Atchity? Would it be his longtime partnering with Gray as MODOK, or that short-term relationship he had with with Alonzo as the Paddington 2?
To be honest, I think Duralde is a better player because he doesn't miss a round 2 question. He legit does not miss a round 2 question. He is Mr. Round 2. I think it's a little bit of an unfair comparison because the divisions were so different from when he was with Gray to when he was with Duralde. He has worked with Gray for such a long time. They have chemistry. It's not like he didn't have chemistry with Duralde. It just may not have been as strong. Personally, I think he is a better player with Duralde.
Okay. Yeah. I'm mainly asking that because we've seen so much with teams that chemistry works, and yeah, he and Gray have great chemistry. It's one of the reasons why after they lost the top 10, they went on a 3-game winning streak that led them to the championship against the Patriots. Like, they get a TKO against What the Flick, of course, which was Duralde's first match. They get a great win against IGN when they had, I think it's the only time in Matt Atchity's team's career he ever got opponent's choice, and they were still able to pull that win. And that was the same match against IGN where Matt Atchity had gotten a perfect round. He got a perfect round in that match. And even though they had
no, he has gone perfect twice.
Oh, he has. Wait, I'm missing something there. Wait, I'm also missing in my records. He also got opponent's choice against critically acclaimed with MODOK. My bad. I'm looking over my notes.
He went perfect against Supreme Intellect.
That is correct.
But he missed the bonus.
Yeah. But he got the bonus against IGN though.
This is
Yes. That is true. That one question that Jim unfortunately
because that is a different. Being sweaty and clammy is like clammy is just, I think you're anxious and nervous. Sweaty is you're actually physically doing something to cause your hands to do that. So I thought it's so funny. He has probably one of the better challenges, and he has the worst challenge.
Yeah. So. It's definitely a bit of a 50-50 with his constant movie knowledge. The fact he's reviewed so many films, it just falls into that list of where your knowledge will sometimes betray you.
Exactly. And he has played in singles
twice.
And he's been in 3 free-for-alls. So he's definitely done a lot of stuff. Singles, I don't think was ever his focus.
I know he wanted to give it a shot though, because I mean that match against Franco though, he was the heavy. I mean, Atchity was the heavy favorite because this was just after that match. Because looking at the release dates of every Schmoedown match that came after the Rotten Tomatoes IGN match. This was before their match against Nerdwatch at Collision, and Atchity was the heavy favorite. Tim was an unknown because, like late to the party, he came in just right after them. So everybody was unsure of how Tim Franco was going to do. But then when you watch that match, Matt actually only misses one question in animated, and Tim Franco goes perfect, getting the bonus question. And then Matt actually, unfortunately, gets rom-coms. He only gets 4 points, but one steal off of Tim Franco. But then that final round, he only misses his 5-pointer in Pixar to get a TKO loss against Franco.
I want to pose a question to you guys. So last year we saw the biggest singles tournament ever because of these.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, would you want them to still stick with 32, or would you like to see a 64-man/woman singles tournament? Because we have 8 factions. You pick 8 players,
and there's not 12 members to each faction. It's 96. So shit.
64. How crazy would that be to see a 64-person singles tournament? I know that's not fair to Christian and the crew, but that would be some of the most amazing stuff to watch.
It would be fun to watch, and also not fair to the after show night. That would be fun.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
That would give so many action films so much crap to do. So apologies to C2A, apologies to certain POV, apologies to Let's Get Ready, but you guys would have your hands full if there was a 64-person tournament. And also, if this does happen, no matter how these matches turn out, I will always, every single comment, every post, I will give so much props and congratulations to Christian, Nerd Chronic, PJ Campbell, and everyone backstage.
I forgot. Yeah,
put
no.
this together.
I won't do that because it's not fair to PJ.
I know.
You know how many questions they have to write?
I know, but I'm just saying, if PJ Campbell was really, Brian, I'm gonna say if PJ, no, I think Eric, Christian got another editor to help take the pressure off of Nerd Chronic.
I think he'll need like 4 if he's doing a 6. Because 64, that's just 32 matches in the first round.
Yes.
And then it goes 16, 8, 4, like.
Yeah. And let's say 32 of those matches are play-ins. And then we get the 32 for first round. And then we keep moving, chipping them further and further. That's why I say if this does happen, if Christian wants to test this, I will do every post. I don't care, good or bad. I will still say, I will give so many positive thoughts, so many positive reinforcements to Christian. Hey, you took a shot at something and you stuck your guns. I don't care what everyone in the Facebook group, in the Twitters, or even in Reddit or threads on the Schmoedown are going to say. You wouldn't be able to say this shit if Christian didn't have the balls to go through with it. So before you want to go negative on something like that, look at the fact that Christian provided you with this content to watch that made you want to be part of the Schmoedown, that made you want to watch these matches. Because no matter what goes down, Christian, he is dead serious about wanting the Schmoedown to be a big thing. And now
I will say this: if there's no say that Christian just is not happy with teams, like we're not able to get in the studio, maybe we don't have a teams tournament. I think this would be a great way to just give us more matches.
That would be the biggest heartbreak to most people, not many teams.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious.
Yes.
Has Hollow mentioned a 64 player?
No, that was just so the because of the 8 teams, which I know a lot of people want a 9th faction, but having 8 factions makes tournaments extremely easy. You don't need play-in matches.
I hear what you mean.
So the best way.
It was just a nice little idea that Brandon had thought of. Like, if he from 32 to 64. Like, it's a nice thing to think of.
Because the way tournaments work, you can do 8. Well, you could do 4, but that's kind of boring. You can do 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128.
Yeah.
But we'll never do 128 because the way the math works, that's the only way to do it. Like you can't do anything from between 32 and 64. It won't come out correctly because you'll have some people that don't have to play because
that's gonna be the biggest problem.
I'm just saying that might be a reason why we would only get a singles tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because I know Christian has said he's not the biggest fan of doing teams online. Yeah. Preferably, he just cannot stand teams title matches online. I really, I know some people like it, but I don't like seeing the competitors talk to each other. I think it's not fair to these factions and these teams. It gives too much insight that could be used later on for some of these teams. That's the only problem that I have with it. Like, if we didn't see them talking to each other and conversing, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Like, but there's no way to. It's just the way that it works.
I will say this, and I will say this only. I do play in some of the trivia fan leagues out there, and I have played in digital teams matches to where I have had time to talk with my partner, like in later rounds. I can understand the frustration it comes from for Christian to be like, because it's time consuming, and I do get that. And then at the same time, to me, it's kind of, and I'm not going to say, oh, if the fan leagues did it, if everyone else can do it, then Christian should do it. No, if Christian found a problem that just doesn't work well with the format that he's trying to do, then okay, I'm okay with that. What I don't like when it comes with this whole situation, that if Christian just can't find a way to do teams in digital, I'm pretty sure he'll find a way to still try to get us some teams matches, even if he has to, rent out, make some space in his garage just so he can have everyone there to record this stuff. I think Christian will find a way to do
a lot of people that are going to be playing in teams that don't live in Los Angeles.
In LA. Yeah, that's one of the issues. Yeah, that's one. Yeah, I know. But I'm just saying, I think Christian will still find a way for this to happen. But even then, I don't think the community should try to grab their pitchforks and light their torches to go after Christian. It's just this Schmoedown was meant to be a live studio show, and because of COVID and whatever your political opinions are, this country dropped the ball, and Christian had to do what he could. But I want to get past all this seriousness right now and let us wind back into talking about Atchity. Because Atchity, as a team's player, he's definitely somebody. If he had gotten drafted this season, I could have seen him and Alonzo be reunited. I could have seen him work with almost anybody in any faction, honestly. Because Atchity is that good of a teams player. And because of the fact that he's such a fun person, he has a relaxed attitude, I know he is competitive. Because in his last singles match against Andreyko, he knew the answers to his questions. It was just the fact he couldn't get there. And because the fact he's knowledgeable, it just shows he has a wealth of information that if you give him the right team player and able to work with him well, able to really temper the steel, he can come out a very dangerous partner, a very dangerous competitor.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something. I forgot. When he was with, I don't think they had one on Monarch. When he was with Paddington Few,
Yes.
who was the manager?
No, there was no manager. It was just those two.
So before season 7, only certain people. Well, there were a couple during Anarchy. Yes.
Yeah.
But there wasn't really any. Like, not every team had a manager until season 7.
So maybe Matt is the right manager and the right team partner.
If he would have beaten Andreyko, I would have said that would have worked, but it didn't make it. Him having a manager didn't make that much of a difference for him against Andreyko. I get that was online, so it's not exactly the same, and he hasn't done a teams match with a manager. So I think
I do see where you're coming from, Ben. Yeah, let's say if we didn't have what happened last year, and Matt Atchity did have a team with Sam Levine, and let's say they had a decent run, I could say Sam would have been the perfect manager for Atchity, because Sam also has a bit of a lax attitude, and also at the same time, from what I've seen of Sam as a manager, he tries to do most of the challenging. He tries to do most of the wit, like the constant in jokes, just similar to what Roxy does, so their players can focus on the trivia.
Yeah,
they don't need to worry about having to be. They don't have to worry about having these smart comebacks against players or having to do these banters. That's one thing I do see. Matt definitely could benefit from a manager by having them take a lot of the brunt of the trash talking, so he mainly focuses on the trivia.
And forgive me if I'm wrong, and I might be wrong, The one Matt didn't play over digital. Wasn't Sam gone? Wasn't he unavailable, or am I getting that confused?
No, Sam wasn't gone. No, he was still there throughout the match.
Okay, I mean, I remember Sam like not being there for one match.
No, he was
Okay.
there for Atchity's match. I rewatched that match against Enrico. He was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's actually one of Matt's lowest scored matches, honestly, against Enrico.
Well, all right, Ben, are you talking an online match or a in-person match?
There was one match last year online.
Okay.
Sam couldn't be there, and I believe it was a guy who managed.
Well, I know Guy helped manage Jader at the beginning of the year.
Okay,
I know there was that one. I don't remember if there was another online match that Sam.
Yeah, I think it was.
Let's see. The four from Sam's faction that were brought in was Robert Montano, Matt Atchity. Let's see. He had Jader went to the Drew, so that wasn't possible. Ethan Irwin, and then trying to go over that list. Let's see. Well, Janine. No, Janine was geek. She didn't do singles. Sorry. I mean, we don't need to worry about that right now. I mean,
I'm sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine, Ben. That's perfectly fine. I do understand where you're trying to come from.
Atchity, Irwin, Sabina
Graves, yes, Sabina Graves. But
here, Leo, always coming in clutch.
Yeah, thank you, Leo.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Leo.
Yeah, Leo has like all the information. Like if Leo ever started his own after show, he would just dominate.
Yeah, Leo, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to answer constant live chats like it was like you were like one of those fast talking moderators at an auction.
As if he doesn't already. Do you know how many chats that I see him in where like someone will say something wrong on air and I'm like, all right, where's Leo? Ah, there's Leo giving the credit, or like someone's not sure. And
Leo, I would call you the auctioneer. If you ever played in the Schmoedown, because you be quick draw. Like, all right, this person's gonna come up here with his answer. No, it looks like Leo pops in with his little retort. Now he goes over here. Now he's gonna report to this person. Like, Leo, I would not be surprised if you're like, the movie version of Hackers, where you got multiple screens around you and you're just going at super speed, popping in on every one of them. No disrespect, man, but that's kind of like how I'm seeing you right now. Like, you got super speed. That would be your power. You have super speed. The fact that you're able to stay focused so much, man, and you're able to retain all of this. You'd be in the comics a 12th level intellect. That's how you'd be. In comic books, you'd have a 12th level intellect, man.
So,
but I do appreciate you being here.
Final question for both of you. What's your favorite Atchity match?
Oh, man. For me, the Paddington team with the family. And for nothing else, that classic moment at the end.
Yeah.
Mine, hands down, because it's so funny, is the one against the Patriots. That is like one of my favorite character matches that Atchity ever did. The fact that they're both in character like the entire match, and if they weren't in character,
commitment, man, it's incredible.
No, yeah, exactly, Brian. I'm the exact same. Character is like one of the best. Like Boris.
Actually, my God, with MODOK, if we did like a great ranking of just the cosplays they did, obviously their matching the Patriots would be number one because top character. My second would be them against critically acclaimed when they did Double Bill and Ted. Like Bill and Ted from the past, and then Bill and Ted from the future. Then their match against Nerd Watch when they dressed up as nuns. Their match against IGN when they were dressed as Men in Black. And then, of course, I would go to the
which match is it where they dressed up as Marty and Dr. and
Above the Line, yeah.
That's also another good one.
I guess that's kind of right. That is definitely, now looking back at my question when I said to you who does actually work best with, Brandon, you are right. It is a bit of a loaded question because both partners brought the best out of Matt, and I would say if I did have to look at a favorite, I would think my favorite is, I mean, I can't say Supreme Intellect because that was just them at the top of their game. I would kind of say against their match against the Odd Couple or their match against the Paddington 2 against the Family.
I mean, there's a whole match not to have be your favorite.
Wait, are you saying which one I don't like?
Wait, what?
Ben, we're seeing are you asking us is there one that we don't like?
No, I'm hearing that the Paddington and Family one is hard to argue against.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, I'm not saying it's not a good match.
Yeah.
I like their character moments in that Patriots match. Definitely number 2 is the family match. There's no doubt about that.
yeah.
Oh, that's a good one, Leo. The Paddington against Time Machine. That is a very good match because I think that one also went to
I
some.
love how he plays Janine twice in back-to-back seasons, and she's on a different team that has to do with Machine.
Yeah,
One was
I love
War
it.
Machine, and the next one was Time Machine.
Yeah, that War Machine was a TKO. Time Machine went to sudden death. I believe only Matt was the only person who missed the second question in the sudden death for Time Machine to win. But man, I think that's. I mean, just looking at it, Paddington 2 really did like. I think that's why Matt is a great team player. He really does help elevate partners, and him and Alonzo definitely. I swear they should have been a protected team during the draft. They should have been a protected team because they were so good together. But then we would have gotten to see Alonzo and Whitney as Deep 13, though.
Yeah. Lonzo's going to be someone to watch out for this next season, for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the top tier players that has not had a chance to go to a title match. I think because everyone every season likes to make a list. Who are the best players that don't have a belt? So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. But as always, guys, it was a fantastic show talking about the brightful, entertaining Matt Atchity. Ben, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me at my Twitter at MidRanger2.
Ryan?
Well, people can definitely follow me at my Twitter, caramel_pain. And also, if you guys are big wrestling fans out there, I do a podcast with MTS draftee who could probably show up in the first class leagues, James Schmoedown. I do a wrestling podcast with him called Wrestling, Rambling, and Rages Podcast. It's mainly on Anchor. So if you guys go on to Anchor and you check it out, just listen to myself and James just go back and back on wrestling. And on a side note, I was watching with James throughout the entire draft, hoping that he would get picked. When he didn't get picked, we were heartbroken. And then I thought, oh, he gets supplemental draft. But hopefully, if he shows up in the first class league, I will be there front row and center to cheer him on Twitch.
Exactly. Yeah, you can go ahead and find me right there, Brandon Buck 88. You can follow us on our. Yeah, I've been very bad with running the show today. Find us here, twitter.com/Mount Schmoedown. And for those of you that have been following the Schmoedown pretty close this week, Christian has been pretty pushing out this stereo app. We are in the process of maybe doing some stuff on there. It's just a little bit difficult to figure out as there are 3 of us, but stereo only allows 2 people on a broadcast at a time. So we may have to do some tests to determine if it's possible to have all 3. So you'll definitely have to watch out for that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We will see y'all.